Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nader Narrative and Jersey First TV. It's summer. Everybody has just been through graduations and the end of school. People are headed down to the shore, enjoying summer in New Jersey. But you know what always happens this time of year in New Jersey, in case you haven't paid attention, is the budget gets approved every single year at the end of June. Why? Because New Jersey's fiscal year starts July 1st. So they work on the budget all year, go through all of that, and then it gets approved at the end of June. So I feel like every year at this time, we're doing a show on the budget. And unfortunately, every year at this time, we're talking about how it has ballooned once again and the implication that has on affordability in New Jersey. This year is no different. So while you're packing your car to go down to the shore, listen up, because this does affect you. Don't just let it be something that happens every summer in New Jersey. You don't think about it, because it definitely affects your daily life. And we're going to talk about why today. So pay attention and understand that since Governor Murphy took office, our budget has ballooned 60%. Also, in case you didn't realize, there is a constitutional requirement that we have a balanced budget. What does that mean? If you keep spending, you have to find the money somewhere. Just like in your house, right? If you keep spending, you've got to find the money. So to that end, what does that mean for businesses? What does that mean for the taxpayer? Well, it means we have to shovel more money to Murphy in order to satiate this. But there's some subtleties we want to talk about. And today I'm so honored to have one absolutely fighter for businesses who has been on the front lines, talking to the assembly, talking to senators, talking to the governor's office, fighting for businesses for so long. In fact, NJBIA, which is New Jersey Business and Industry Association, is really recognized as the leading and most influential employers organization in the country. And today we have the president and CEO, Michele Siekerka, with us. Michele, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for the opportunity to join you today, Elizabeth.
So you are involved in this all the time. You know this whole budget process like the back of your hand. And every year there are issues. This year, there's something specific about businesses with over 10 million in profit. Tell us what happened to the budget that suddenly now we're dealing with an increase in a business tax.
Yeah, absolutely. So this thing called the corporate transit fee, which really is just another name for corporate business tax, was included in the budget to the tune of $1 billion. So directly, that impacts about 600 companies who in New Jersey earn revenue in excess of $10 million. However, it doesn't stop there, right? Because there's a whole downstream impact to every company that works with those companies, to every product and service provided and delivered by those companies, and to the workforce that supports those companies.
Right.
So don't let anyone fool you to say, oh, it's 600 companies that can afford to pay this money. This is not and was not an issue about affordability. This is about New Jersey's regional competitiveness.
Yes.
And this corporate business tax increase totally blows our competitiveness in a negative way out of the water.
Right, which means businesses leave the state, which means they don't invest, which means they look for ways to put their money elsewhere. And there are some not so subtle issues with this, Michele. Let's break it down, because first of all, we had the sunset of the corporate business tax at the end of December, but gotcha, all of a sudden this, what they're calling the transit fee, we'll talk about that in a minute, adds 2.5% retroactive to January 1st of this year. Why is that a problem?
Huge problem. So what we're doing is we're saying to these companies who on December 31st understood they would not be any longer paying 2.5% increased surcharge, right? So they're back to 9% corporate business tax. So what do? They plan. This is what companies do. They have budgets, they plan, right? They need predictability and certainty. So they took that 2.5% and guess what? They invested it elsewhere in their company, in their workforce, in their community. Why the retroactivity is so egregious is now we say to those companies on July 1, we're going to go back and we're going to claw back that money from you, regardless of the fact that you already invested it elsewhere. And what makes it even more egregious is many of these companies are publicly traded companies. So this means they're going to have to go back and restate their financial statements, which is something that Wall Street does not look kindly upon, which therefore impacts their stocks. And let's think about this. These are New Jersey companies who many of us are invested in those stocks, including our state pension plans. Go figure.
Wow, there you go. There's an impact right there. So you brought a lot of these issues to the budget committees, I know, and we're going to show a little clip from your testimony recently. But one of the other things about this is New Jersey Transit. Now, recently, of course, it's been in the news a lot. It's got major issues, no surprise. It's had issues for a while. Just recently, it's been very painful for travelers on New Jersey Transit. I want to ask you something. You know, they're going to run out of money next year, not this year, next year, apparently. But first question that comes to mind as a business person, have they ever been audited? Has anyone ever said, hey, is really New Jersey Transit running at the most efficient? Have we pulled back the books and looked in the books? Do you know, Michelle, if they've ever done that to say, hey, let's actually fix it instead of just throwing more money at the problem?
Well, I can't answer definitively if they were ever audited. However,
Yeah.
we do know that in the recent past, and I could say recent past being like more than 10 years, okay, the answer to that is an astounding no. What we understand today is, ridership is down while expenses are up, especially in a post-COVID world. Go figure, we understand that, okay?
Right.
So we actually did say, and in fact, the governor called for an audit. So we're saying, if you're going to do an audit, why don't you do that first? Because I want to remind everyone, it's not just this corporate transit fee, this $1 billion on the back of New Jersey business. Government just approved a 15% ridership increase that went into effect July 1. Okay. More money. And government also approved the reaffirmation of the Transportation Trust Fund. 45% of the monies in the Transportation Trust Fund go to, you got it, New Jersey Transit. So here's three big bunches of money we're throwing at an agency that is broken. And everyone
Broken.
knows it's broken, but throwing money at it isn't going to fix it. So why don't we step back and understand, right? What's
Yeah.
at stake, what we really need to fund it at its core, and then comprehensively go about doing that.
Well, if we approached New Jersey Transit like it was a business and made sure that, we understood, by the way, New Jersey Transit has got incredible assets. Why are those not being leveraged, right? Why is that not a revenue center? There's so many different things that we could look at. Instead, there's this 2.5% hike retroactive to January 1st, now intended to pull all this money together for New Jersey Transit, except the catch is there's no guarantee it goes there. Talk about that.
Yeah. So the only way you dedicate money in the state of New Jersey is by a constitutional amendment. Clearly, we did not see that as part of the budget negotiations. And so while the bill does state that the intention of this money is to fund operating expenses for New Jersey Transit, this money today is being placed in New Jersey surplus. It's going to sit in surplus for a year. That allows it to be tapped for any purpose whatsoever. And I need to also remind folks that publicly our legislators, some of them have said they could use this money for other reasons, like the
Yeah,
Stay New Jersey program, for example, the
right.
new tax relief program that will only come into play for the first time next year. That is in the process of attempting to be funded, right? So we are very concerned about this making it to its intended purpose. And even if it makes it there in year one, if it does, you're going to pull that $1 billion out of surplus, which is going to cause now different issues downstream, right?
Right.
I mean, come on, this $1 billion today was to plug a budget hole. That's why they
Right.
grabbed it today. They don't even need it until a year from now.
Yep, they just took it when they could, as soon as they could. The sunset was barely down, and they went back to these businesses. How does
Unfortunately.
that put us in terms of competition with other states? I mean, we already have so many issues and taxes, but now with this new fee that they're calling the transit fee, but it's a tax. Where do we stand in terms of competitiveness?
Well, we can start that first of all, nationally, New Jersey is in the top tier of the four most expensive taxes, right? Income tax, sales tax, property tax, corporate business tax. We're in that top tier of all four. Now let's consider for one moment our immediate regional competitiveness. Pennsylvania, our state to the west, that every day is vying to attract New Jersey businesses and
Absolutely.
sadly is doing so and has
Yep.
done so, right? They are on a multi-year trajectory to drive their corporate business tax down to below 5%. We'll be at 11.5. They'll be
Oh,
at below 5.
ouch.
At the same time, New York, as part of their initial fiscal budget that was proposed for this next year, they had a CBT increase in it. And guess what? They pulled it because they understood its impact on regional competitiveness.
Right.
We
Right.
went in the opposite direction, significantly negatively impacts our regional competitiveness.
It seems like Murphy, I mean, he's been increasing every year, but he's on his way out, as we know. It can't come soon enough, I think, for businesses because he just has refused to be pro business in a lot of his decisions. It seems like he's just spending as much as he can before he leaves. He's going to leave quite a mess for the next governor. The next governor is going to need to make some decisions because, again, balanced budget, what does that mean? We're going to have to cut. I haven't seen any cutting. Maybe some pet projects haven't made it into the budget. I know the Pompidou Museum, we had an issue with that at Jersey First. Didn't make it into the budget. Well, that's great. But they certainly didn't hold back. It seems like spend, 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 Michele. How do we rein that in? When you talk to assembly people and senators, you talk about the spending. Does anyone have a sense that we can't keep going down this road?
Well, what we need to do is we need to get a reform agenda. All we do, again, we throw money at stuff and then we talk
Right.
about relief, property tax relief. Property tax relief is a check you are writing after the fact if the money is there to fund it.
Yeah.
All right. How many times historically do we see with the homestead rebate checks, right? If we don't have the money, you don't get them. The key is reform. Let's go back to the basics, the fundamental, comprehensive, right? Let's finally, we just keep putting a Band-Aid on the wound. It's time to just rip open, and do surgery here. So we got to go back and talk about what leads to property taxes in the state of New Jersey,
Right.
what drives our high cost of living. And of course, we're a very dense state. We get that. Okay. But, why is it that we're such an outlier? It's not even just that we're the highest. This CBT, we're an outlier nationally. The second closest corporate business tax isn't even in double digits.
Wow. That's incredible.
So how do
And
you,
it's outrageous, actually. It's outrageous. It's hard to defend that. As I said in my opener, why should people care? How does this affect them? I think a lot of times people feel immune from that. They think, well, these 600 businesses, they're making money, they can shoulder this. They don't make the connection to their daily lives. So, Michele, let's be very specific. How does this affect every New Jerseyan?
it affects every product and service that we buy and purchase and use today. It affects the supply chain to every small business that supports every one of these companies. It's budget 101, right? There's revenue and there's expense. When your expenses go up, what do? You either cut
Yeah.
other expenses, which could be like workforce or investment in their companies in this state, or you increase revenues, which means you
Right.
have to drive up the cost in what is now already an inflationary time.
Right.
So yeah, let's not kid ourselves. This affects every single product and service, and it's either going to be made up on the expense side by cuts that will hurt us in this economy, or on the revenue side that's going to cost us more money.
So you had an excellent testimonial in front of the Assembly Budget Committee, and the chair of that committee responded to you at the end. By the way, Michele, like it was so well done how you laid out your argument. I don't have time to show it here, and I would encourage everyone to go find it because it was logical. It made so much sense. And this is, of course, after we knew already, this was going to happen, and there was no stopping it. But you've done a lot of lobbying to try to help these businesses. But at the end, the Assemblywoman had a response to you, maybe a little bit biting in the beginning, but you really didn't get to address what she said. So I want to play it now for the purposes of allowing you to address specifically what she talked about at the end of that testimony.
Kirk, I just really would like to remind everyone that yes, the budget has increased, but that's what happens when we're making payments that were never being made beforehand under both either administration, Republican or Democrat. We are spending a tremendous amount of money on making pension payments, full school funding formula, and additional to the formula, we're adding in more money into education than ever before in the state's history.
And we respect those investments, and we have supported
excuse me,
those investments.
I am not done yet. I am not done. I respect everyone that comes here, and I'm very respectful to my members, but when I'm speaking, please wait until I'm finished if you would like to address me.
Absolutely.
So I think that we've done tremendous work here, and I think that we're all not going to agree, but we do it respectfully. We can disagree on what it is that's going to be in or out of this budget. But if we keep talking about why the budget is so large, we can keep having the same conversation that we're making payments that were never done before. And you're right, we've been talking about New Jersey Transit for a very long time. But also, we provide tax incentives to many of these businesses. We have promoted time and time after small business, medium-sized business, or large business. You're absolutely right. I don't want any of these companies to leave. I have proposed a plenitude of tax incentive bills because I believe in this state and I believe what we have to offer. So sometimes there's a trade-off. And I haven't heard from one CEO calling. What I have heard is we're willing to come to the table, and these are some of the items that we would like and some of the items if you can please consider. And I think that there's many people here that represent some of these companies that have actually come to the table. As a matter of fact, when we originally did the surcharge over 5 years ago, I was one of the people that brought all of the businesses to the table under a former executive director for the Assembly. And we all held hands and we said, it's going to be difficult, but we're going to get it done. So sometimes we're making tough choices. It's not to fund whatever it is that we want to. When you do have the opportunity to look at the budget, you'll see that besides fully funding the formula for school aid, there's hundreds of millions to many school districts, whether they're Republican or Democrat. So thank you.
Okay, Michele. So first of all, thank you for your professionalism. You're very good at what you do. You're very well respected. I got a little tense there at the end. You really didn't get to respond to this. She made some claims. Can you respond to what you think is important from what she said?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, NJBIA always supports our ability to make pension payments and to fund education. We're a champion for education. I mean, we partner with New Jersey Community College Consortium on a career pathways, right? We sit right at the center of that. So we're a champion for all of that. And she knows that as well. But, you know, the reason why education costs so much in the state of New Jersey is because we don't go back and look at the broken funding formula. Right. I mean, let's just be honest. Again, I'm going to bring up reform. When you think about the fact that on any given day, New Jersey and Massachusetts vie for the #1 place for K-12 education, right? We have it today. Good for us, right? Comes at a premium. Why is it that Massachusetts can be so close to us or even win that #1 spot and deliver their K-12 education for about 20% less than we do today? We got to peel back that onion. They used to be called Taxachusetts. No one calls them Taxachusetts. In fact, New Jersey companies are investing with new facilities in Massachusetts. So how do they make the turn and how do we do that, right? So that's one example. And the only other thing that I did there have the chance to respond just relative to mitigation of this horrific tax on New Jersey business, right? #1, I was speaking to CEOs for the last 4 months on this. All right. They are not happy campers. Okay. And they've paid their dues and they pay their fair share each and every day. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay. So to say that, you know, they're not bothered by this is not appropriate. They are. To say about coming to the table, we had a 3-legged stool of mitigation in the end. We said, how about allowing these companies to take the net operating loss carry forward and tax credits that they have that they can put against that first 9% all the way up to the additional 2.5%. No, they wouldn't agree to that. We said take away the retroactivity because that's what's so egregious and punitive to these companies that they have to restate financials. And they said no to that. All right. What was mitigated? In the end, we got to 5 years temporary. That wasn't easy to get to, let me tell you. Okay. So we were at the table. We were offering solutions. We were offering solutions to say, take the organic growth of sales tax into the future, because sales tax grows every year because of inflation, right?
Of course.
Take the organic growth and put that to New Jersey Transit. Because you know what everybody agreed on? Corporate business tax is a volatile tax and not one that any other state in the nation would dedicate to something like New Jersey Transit. No one uses that tax to go to mass transit. You need a reliable funding source. And in the end, CBT is not considered reliable, whereas other types of taxes are.
Only in New Jersey, right? Only in New Jersey. If we could get New Jersey Transit to be profitable or at least break even and fix its problems, we wouldn't be sitting here looking to lean on our businesses. Do you have hope, Michele, for any mitigation in the future? What are you guys working on to try to introduce? You know, even the Assemblywoman said she's looking at tax credits. She's introduced this or that. Realistically, what's out there?
Yeah. And let me just address tax credits. Okay. We wouldn't need tax credits if we didn't have to close this constant gap on competitiveness.
Right.
So the best thing we could ever do is do the reform we need, and then we don't have to grant tax credits. And then the other piece is, what good are those tax credits if we can't set them off against that 2.5%? Right. So we get a little lost in there. No, you know what, where we have opportunity, We had a lot of legislators who worked very closely with us on both sides of the aisle. We do have pro business legislators in this state, regardless of being R&D, right? There are Democratic legislators who are very pro-business who worked with us. And they have come to us and they have said, how do we get working today, now, after July 1? How do we get working now on some positive things for New Jersey business so that we can show New Jersey business that, in fact, we do care about them and we care about their investment here. So we are putting together that agenda for them, and we look forward to advancing that agenda. But let me say, these minds will not forget where we were left on June 30th either.
Absolutely. And August 1st, it all starts again. So your job is never done, Michele. I want to just thank you so much for really your professionalism, as I said before, your knowledge of this, standing up for businesses. It's so important. And Jersey First obviously champions that as well. I know we did a recent pancake and policy event with you. We hope to do more in the future. This is critical to the future of the New Jersey business climate, jobs, affordability. It's all related. And I'm glad to hear that there are people in the Assembly and Senate who have the knowledge and foresight and ability to understand that businesses matter. Perhaps we get a new governor. Perhaps those opinions and viewpoints actually see the light of day, Michele, and they're not hidden with pressure from one side who's trying to accomplish something. It's a long road, but there's always hope, especially with someone like you. So thank you for everything you do at the NJBIA.
Thanks. As I like to say, great businesses make great communities, and they do, and they mean a lot to our economy. So let's take good care of them.
100%. We are with you, Michele. Thank you so much. To my audience, guys, all this matters. It affects your daily lives. So pay attention, talk to your elected officials, let them know that you care, because it's about to get a little bit tighter in New Jersey next year. If you thought it was tight already on your budgets, we're going in the wrong direction, but there is always a hope. Michele, thank you so much. We'll have you back.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too. And to my audience, guys, have a great week. We'll see you soon.